RMSO Bigfoot. Giant Sagamook Sasquatch confronts terrified family. Maurice writes RMSO. Hello, I'm from Texas, and this sighting happened in 2008 in New Brunswick. At this time, I was 57 years old, and my grandchildren were only 6, 8, and 9 years old. I traveled to New Brunswick to visit my daughter, son-in-law, and my 3 grandchildren. During the second week with them, we already had done everything possible to pass the time, and my son-in-law drove us to a place that, if I remember correctly, was called Mount Carlton Park, to have a picnic in a campground in that area. Everything was all right until around 3 p.m. when my 8-year-old grandson Billy said that he saw a gorilla in the bushes. I just found it weird because there are no ape types in North America, and Billy was just a kid, and he certainly didn't know that. But he was saying that over and over, pointing to some tall bushes about 80 yards from us. I had a gun in my holster, so I was prepared to take it out in case it was a black bear. I stood up and approached the tall bushes, and when I was just 6 yards away from it, it emerged from the tall bushes. Something that I can only describe as a giant furry man, walking perfectly on all fours. The distance was enough for me to tell that his skull was way bigger than mine, and its shoulders were extremely wide and had a bunch of apish features. The only things human about its face was only the nose and its ears, because the rest really resembled an ape of some kind. The forehead, the dark brown eyes, the wide mouth, the thick neck, the furry silverish gray body with some chunks of it being brown, and the light gray skin. Everything was off about this creature, and it was standing on its fists. Not knuckles, fists. And yet its back was straight. Nothing like a gorilla, and way bigger than a gorilla. There is just no comparison. The height at all fours was 6'4" tall. I wanted to pull the gun from my holster, but my family was back there. If I missed the shot, everybody was going to be in danger. Then the creature stood up. And I don't know how tall it was at that moment because there was only bushes as a reference, but it was literally a giant. It made a low-pitched sound that I can't describe exactly. Then I turned around and ran to the picnic area and just yelled to everyone, "Get inside the van!" We got inside the van and I turned the car on, and I saw that the thing followed me and was just 20 yards from the van. I could tell the height now because of the trees. It had to be at least 12 feet tall because it was taller than some of the smaller trees. I wasn't believing in the size of the man creature. When my grandchildren saw that from the inside of the van, they screamed. My daughter and son-in-law were paralyzed and shocked. I got us out of that place as soon as possible. I know I wasn't hallucinating because everybody saw what I saw, and my grandson Billy saw it first from the distance. So I'm writing this because I always wanted to ask somebody that understands about this type of topic. Was me and my family being observed by a skunk ape or a Sasquatch? RMSO responds, "Hi Maurice. Wow, that thing was huge. The species of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skunk ape, or whatever the locals call it in certain area seem to get larger the further north you get. Of course they aren't born 8 feet tall. Sounds like you all must have seen a full-grown adult male." Maurice continues, "I talked to my daughter about the incident and she said that when I was driving us out of there, I was only looking forward and I wasn't looking back. I remember them screaming as I was driving the car on the dirt road. I couldn't be too fast because I could crash the car. But I was going over 30 miles an hour and my daughter said that the creature was following us on all fours at a fast pace walking, not running, and stopped 2 minutes after and just vanished. I still get disturbed on how big and stealthy that thing was. And fast, too." RMSO responds, "The size and color and temperament of this Bigfoot you described reminds me of one that charged a family near a remote cabin in Nova Scotia just south of New Brunswick. They described a giant grayish creature over 10 feet tall that was very bulky with man-like features. This also happened in 2008, September of that year." We received an amazing Bigfoot encounter from Nova Scotia, Canada, sent to us by a man who lives in Maine. Here is his report. Eric writes RMSO. "Hi. Emailed my sighting to another Bigfoot organization, but later discovered that they were inactive, so I sent it here because I really need to tell people that study this type of phenomenon. I'm from Maine. My family lives in Nova Scotia, Halifax. This sighting happened when I lived there. It was September 16th, 2008. Me and my family, which consists of my father, my mother, and my two younger sisters who are twins, we traveled from Halifax to a secluded house near a place which is close to a place named Card Lake Provincial Park. We got there because my grandpa lived there and he died from natural causes. So we were going there to decide what to do with the house, if we were going to sell it or demolish it. We arrived there and started to explore the terrain around the house. We found broken branches in the woods that surrounded the house. We found bones of coyote, bear, and raccoon scattered around the house and the woods too. I asked my father if Grandpa was a hunter or something like that, and he told me that he didn't talk to him almost 18 years, and he didn't know what kind of thing Grandpa was up to before he died. We decided to pass a night in there because it was nighttime and we couldn't travel at night in a road with no illumination. In the morning of the following day, my family was having breakfast in the kitchen, and I was sitting in a chair at the front yard when I felt a small rock hit my chest. I got the rock in my hand, and I looked at the direction where it came from, and I saw nothing, only the tree line. I ignored it, and after 5 minutes approximately, a bigger rock was thrown in front of me. It was the size of an apple. I looked at the tree line again and saw a very, very big face in there between two thick trees. Two black eyes, light skin, big wide nose, wide thin mouth, a bunch of grayish white hair. I knew it wasn't a person. No one is that big. It spooked me, and I got up. The moment I got up, the thing made a quick movement and vanished from the trees. I ran to the kitchen and said that there was something close to the house. My father grabbed a rifle. It was a .308. As we exited the front door, we saw movement in the tree line, and something huge came out and charged us. My father fired one time, and the thing let out a scream and ran back to the woods. All of this happened in less than 10 seconds. Everybody saw it. My mother and sisters saw it from the kitchen window. It was a giant, over 10 feet tall. It was a bulky thing that was shaped like a man, was furry head to toe, grayish white fur. The skin was light dark under the fur. Its face, like I said before, had black eyes, big nose, wide thin mouth, long hair in the head, and when it charged at us, I saw its giant sharp canines. I didn't see any ears. It resembled a man, but me and my family know it wasn't a man. In this day, we got out of there quickly and sold the terrain to a person who demolished the house years later. Everybody in my family saw that. If my father hadn't brought the rifle with him, we probably would have died that day. I heard stories about Bigfoot, in specific the Genosqua, which is a giant eastern variation of it. I'm certain that one of these things attacked us that day. Still traumatized. RMSL responds, "Hi Eric. Your dad's one shot fired. Was it a warning shot, or did he shoot at the monstrous creature?" Eric continues, "He hit it in the left shoulder. We could see the moment it flinched and then screamed and ran away." RMSO continues, "This is a very unfortunate encounter. The way it ended in such a brutal way. This creature may have befriended your grandfather or the other way around. I'm sure it was confused as to where your grandpa was and possibly saw your family as trespassers and may have wanted to run you and your family from his friend's property and home. The cabin, surrounded by deceased animals, may have been gifts of food to your grandfather by this Sasquatch. Because it never harmed your granddad, I doubt it would have hurt you all. However, everyone must defend themselves." I hope you enjoyed this aggressive Bigfoot encounter. In my opinion, had unfortunate results. Everybody must protect themselves, and a 10-foot monstrous creature charging at you, screaming, showing its canines, aggressive enough that you have to take action. Who knows what would have happened if his dad had not taken that shot. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.